I'm Faisal Karmali. Today we have Adam Thompson here. Adam is the owner of Friday Sock Co., and he's been named one of Calgary's top 40 under 40. Now, I've wanted Adam to come on the show because I want him to explain to all of our listeners and viewers of how hard it is to go from literally one pair of socks to multi-millions in sales. Stay tuned to the end of the episode where Adam is going to give you his best pieces of advice just for you and other business owners looking to grow their business. Let's get started. So Adam, thank you for coming.
Yes.
This is a very exciting business that you have, and I think you've got a very interesting story. Guests on this show in the past have been some professional services, some have built businesses that have been passed on from generation to generation. But you started this from the ground up.
Yeah, I started with 6 crudely designed pairs of socks. I didn't know how to design socks at the time, so I kind of taught myself. We initially had 6 designs that were purposely mismatched, was the whole idea behind it. And we started from very humble beginnings and going to the local markets and trying to establish some consumership with the local customers in Calgary.
So why mismatch? Because conservative guys like me have always been accustomed to wearing conservative socks, conservative outfits, not very flashy, not very mismatched.
Right.
And then you come out with this mismatched concept in Calgary.
Yeah, it was just, I worked in a corporate environment and I wore funky socks. And so I wanted to kind of push the boundaries a little bit on what I was wearing. So I just thought of an idea to have something that was similar but different. So mismatch but match and explore those relationships.
Okay.
And that's really kind of the fun part about it. It's coming up with 2 images that actually, when somebody sees it, they get it as one thing or one theme.
So you were a wearer of socks that were kind of funky. You were known for that in the corporate world.
Yeah. In our
like your
office.
peers and so forth in the office were saying, hey, look, you're the guy, you're the sock guy.
What do you got on today?
Right. And so you go from that to turning this into a business. What was that trigger, that one thing that said, hey, I got to do this as a business?
Well, I kind of always knew that I was going to have some sort of business at some point. I grew up with, my parents were entrepreneurs. And so I knew that I would be doing something. And I get a lot of ideas. And quite frankly, this was one small idea that I said, okay, if I can get this going to a point where we're in X amount of stores, we have this kind of online sales, then I would be able to start another creative business. And my original concept was to have 5 or 6 creative companies that would sustain my livelihood. So live off the proceeds of my imagination is what I was going for.
Love it.
But it's been 5 years and it's just gotten busier and busier and I haven't actually been able to go explore other things yet. So it's just accidentally kind of turned into my full-time business with staff and all that kind of stuff. So.
Starting off in 2015, what was the business like? Was it just you? Was it you and a partner? How did it work?
No, it's always, it's just me. My wife owns a small creative business, Little May Papery, shout out. She does greeting cards and all that kind of stuff. So she had started that and got her foot in the door doing local markets and stuff. And then I was next to start doing that. And it was a side hustle for the first year and a half. So I worked my day job. I came home at 6 o'clock and ate dinner and then worked until 2 a.m. and went every weekend to whatever local market I could find. And the first year was really just sludging through getting some cash flow so that I could go ahead and get more inventory. I figured if I could just keep getting more inventory, then I'm a salesperson by nature. I would figure out a way to sell it.
When did you start hiring more people? What was that turning point?
Not soon enough. So I was very comfortable working 16 hours a day, and I thought that's what I should do and watch every penny and all those kind of things, but I wasn't valuing my time probably enough, and that's just an aha that I've kind of had lately, is that getting people to help you is probably a good thing, especially when you're trying to grow your company. But the very first person was a part-time packager / admin, and then we went ahead and hired a full-time packager / admin, and then we've done variations. We had an operations person for a little bit, and right now there's myself. We have 2 designers. We have admin, packaging, and then we have a digital marketer that is starting with us on the 20th full-time. So,
your sales have grown from literally nothing in 2015 to over $1 million in 5 years.
Yeah,
selling socks.
Yeah, because I had a sales background, I tackled getting into stores quite early. That was my main objective, because that's a reliable thing. As long as they have a sell-through, some semblance of a sell-through, if I could get into X amount of stores, then I could kind of count on that going forward and work out averages for the year and come up with some sort of a budget based on that.
Yeah.
So I got really involved at the beginning. I remember we were working out of my condo in downtown, which we rent out now, but it was, I had a printed out thermometer on the wall with my goal for how many stores to get in that year. And I just filled in with red every time I would add a store.
Walk me through that process, because there's a lot of business owners who are watching this show who are listening to you and saying, okay, you started off with literally nothing. You now have to get into the retail market. And this is something that most, I'm going to call you a manufacturer of socks. A lot of manufacturers or people who have ideas, they have no clue how to get into the retail world. So walk me through that. I'll call it a grind or a hustle. How did you get in there, and how did you get that sale, the first one that they said, yeah, we're gonna sell your socks in our store?
Yeah, sure. It's really about understanding that. I think, well, first you have to have a story, you have to have a product, right? Something different. Like we're a more of a premium price product, but we have a story behind it. We're made in Italy. We're ethically made. They're purposely mismatched. So there's enough differentiators that we can kind of take that shelf space for that price point. But you really got to think. So stores are going to get a lot of people contacting them. They're going to get bombarded with emails constantly. So your first email to them is probably going to be ignored, right? They're going to ghost you probably. But you got to understand that you're trying to build a relationship without having that relationship. So one tactic you can do is kind of send an intro email. I'd always call to make sure that you're going to be sending it to the right person, not to try to hard sell them over the phone, but you don't want to find out a year later that you've been sending it to the wrong decision maker. Yeah. So you find out who the decision maker is, and then you introduce yourself and your product, and then really you just keep in touch and you add value. So instead of always asking for business, you maybe send them an article on, I don't know, how to take product photography, or, hey, I found this interesting thing. And they start seeing that you're somebody in that space who has who's an authority in that space. Yeah. And you start sending them stuff that you're doing. We're going to be making 100% cardboard hang tags, which we did. That's going to reduce our plastic, and we're going to be making our packaging biodegradable. And our shipping tape is paper shipping tape. And you start plugging that stuff to them, and they start understanding who you are as a brand. And So you were informing them about your business and what you guys were doing, or were you providing them information and content about their business? Mostly our business, with a little bit of just general stuff that would maybe help them. Fantastic. And so you get the first one, you get the second one, you're starting to fill up that thermometer. Yeah. When was the shift to realize it's got to go bigger than just retail? And local retail, because I believe you're now beyond. Yeah, we're in 400 stores in Canada and the U.S. We do a monthly subscription. We sell online. There's a bunch of different places that we make custom socks for a variety of companies, from Pete the Plumber to WestJet. So we do a lot of that stuff. It was really like we were working out of the condo. I procured 2 or 3 of the storage units downstairs, and I'd have to go downstairs and bring them up. And then we got a house with a basement that we kind of made our headquarters, and within a year we had to leave there. Yeah. Then a 2,000 square foot warehouse, which I thought was giant and would last us forever. And that's kind of right there was the point. Now we're paying real rent. We're paying rent. We have wages. Okay, now we're a fledgling company. We're the beginnings of a company. And now we've just taken over 7,000 square feet, which has some retail component inside. Okay. And it's much bigger. I've got skateboard ramps in there and a basketball net and all the things that you need for a solid business. And so that's kind of the origins of where we're at for now. But it was really the first time we signed the lease on the first warehouse, and we had a number of stores, and we said, okay, this is an actual business house. So you've hit a certain critical mass on stores. When was the shift to online? Like e-commerce, I think people are thinking there's a lot of individuals who want to sell their product. They put up a shop on said e-commerce site, and that's it. Yeah, it's not that easy. We were e-commerce from the beginning, and I'd say e-commerce is a marriage between selling stuff and then your social media. So social media drives sales. I mean, you can throw out ads on Facebook. You can drop ship. I don't know how much money is in that as far as the expenses versus what you're actually getting in. So I can't speak on that. But at the beginning, for me, was a secondary purpose. It was to get into stores was the first, and then e-commerce was second. And from there, we just worked on our social, so Instagram, Facebook, doing a bunch of stories and all that kind of stuff. And then people start liking your brand. They start liking what you're doing. You give money to charity. You do the good things that you should do, and they follow you. And there's I don't remember. It was like there's a book or something, or an idea about 1,000 fans or 1,000. I can't remember what it was, but that's really it's getting a critical mass of people who really follow you and will, sing your praises to everybody else. Yeah, 1,000 fans. And so you then moved into wholesale.
So you make customized socks for WestJet. This is a national brand.
Yeah.
You're in there now. Now you're in the big leagues.
Yeah. We made them for WestJet. We made them for Stuart Olson, Smart Technologies, Brookfield. There's a lot of places that we've been able to make, and that's been not something we've really even pushed out. It's just word of mouth.
How do you actually get a brand or a company to say, yes, I want socks, when people don't even look at their socks when they're in that business?
It's just, I think it's something different. Like you can open up and nothing against promotional businesses and materials, but you can open up a promotional leaflet or book and you can get stress balls, you can get pens, all these things. You can't get socks. Socks they're a knitted product. They're a manufactured product that actually it can be quite difficult if you don't know how to design one the right way. Like for instance, if you put too much, if a customer comes in and says, hey, I want my logo all over the place, right? And you do that, the problem is that you've now knitted the product so tight that they'll be very hard to get on your foot, right? So there's things like that it's the reason why promotional companies by and far stay away from kind of socks. So we're there. Socks are kind of a trendy thing. So, and that'll probably go away eventually, but right now it's a trendy thing. So companies will seek out and find somebody who can do it.
You're building this business for the last 5 years, Adam. What are your next set of hurdles? What are you trying to jump over looking out the next 2, 3, 5 years?
Right now, it kind of feels like I'm wearing a sweater that's a bit too big because it's a little bit unfamiliar to have the amount of the staff we have and the bigger place that we have. And so it's being more comfortable in my skin where we're at. So it's an internal thing. There's a book about upper limits. So it's just breaching the upper limit problem and realizing that there is no sky. We can keep pushing the boundaries and keep growing and having the confidence to do that. That's my own individual hurdle. I think externally it's the local economy, and the unknowns with the fallout from COVID and people be unemployed, and will people still have the cash to buy something that they could get cheaper somewhere else. So there's those kind of hurdles. But I think if we keep doing good things and we keep providing a quality product that you can't get anywhere else, then we'll be okay, but we'll see.
When you look at those hurdles and you see that there's one that's internal, it's a you thing.
Yep.
And then there's the whole economic side, which is the we are all in this issue. Which one's harder to deal with?
Probably the internal, because that's a battle that you're waging war against yourself in, right? So it takes a lot of focused time to think and process and kind of take a bird's eye view of who you are and really look at what you're doing and what you've accomplished. And it's always a struggle with yourself, right?
Are you reassessing your values now?
No, our values are always been like, do good, have fun, do the right things. All those kind of values are always going to be there. It's more about, for me, it's okay being a bigger business. It's okay to want to take over the world and become a huge giant conglomerate, as long as you're doing good, right?
Yeah.
So not that we're ever going to be a huge giant conglomerate, but
You never know.
You never know.
You never know. Yeah. And that's interesting because it's when you get larger, some things that come into an entrepreneur's mind, one is ego. Another one is fear of failure.
Yeah.
The other part of that also is coming in and saying, is this what I really want?
Yeah.
My vision was to have a big company that sells socks. But that definition of big is relative.
Yeah, and it's so hard because you have an idea of what it's going to be, and then you get into it, and it's not that. It's not that at all. Like when you're little companies like my size, you are still working. You have a job. You have a very important job that is very hard to take time away from. That it's very hard to shut your mind off of. That's when people say to me, it's like, should I start a business? I say no, because you have your weekends, you have your sanity, but when you're driving the boat, you don't have any other capacity for much else. And you have kids and family.
Yeah. So how do you balance that though? Because you're grinding.
It's a mess. I don't balance it. I just keep working and grinding, and we get through it, and it's getting a little bit better. And that's what it is. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going the right direction, and we know we are. So let's just stay the course. We don't have we're not going to shut up shop. We're going to continue to explore and create and innovate. That's what we want to do. There's going to be a tipping point, at least I hope, where, we get to reap the fruits of our labor.
And that's where leveraging of your staff come into place.
Yeah.
It opens up capacity for you.
Yeah.
That's where when the finances kick in, you can afford to take a little bit of time off and spend it for you. I've had many guests on this show that have said to me, the most important part for an entrepreneur is self-health.
Yep.
And helping yourself, getting the right tools, making sure you're eating well. We had one guest on our show talking about how yoga helps them, different tactics to get their mind and state. Is it hard for you to disengage? You're going so hard on your business. It's very challenging for me to just turn it off.
Yeah, it's impossible. I have a very hard time with it. I come home and I have to put my phone somewhere.
Yeah.
And I have this underlying kind of feeling of, hey, I am trying to build something for us and our family and their future. But so hold on. Sorry, Ella, I can't talk right now. I've got to finish this email. But you really have to put the phone down, forget it, and then deal with that later, and the world isn't going to explode.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time. It's an ongoing thing, but
I think every entrepreneur feels that.
Yeah.
Is that pressure between the two, is balancing between the two. And it seems like you've turned the corner, you've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're taking the right steps.
We're getting there right now.
It'll come.
Yeah.
You just mentioned in regards to your expectations were different than what reality is.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know. I think a lot of people, when I was starting a business, I was working in a corporate environment. I was filling out reports. I was having to answer to certain things that I was responsible for, and that's fine. But it was, for me, it was a bit of a spirit-crushing endeavor because I wanted to go create something. And I just saw that me having my own business is I could sit there and I could create things, and we would sell it, and I would have time. I'd have freedom. I would be able to wear jogging pants or no pants or whatever I wanted to do. And then the reality is that you work so hard, and all you do is work. And 90% of what you're doing is the stuff that you didn't want to be doing, and the 10% is the fun stuff. But you can't get to that because you're so busy trying to do everything else. I don't want to do inventory. I don't want to do any kind of bookkeeping. I don't want to do, but you have to. You are the only one to do it until you get to a critical point where you can employ the services of other people. But you're in it, and you're working so hard that you don't have time to breathe. And that's what it is. But you're creating something for you. You're bringing something from your brain into the marketplace, and that's super exciting, and that kind of keeps you going at the same time. So it's a weird thing.
That's a very interesting piece that you just said, because the 10% is what drove you to go from employee to employer.
Yeah.
The 90% was the stuff that you didn't, I guess, realize that you had to do, or you didn't take into account.
I just don't realize how much of it there is.
How much of it? Okay.
I didn't realize how much of that stuff I would be having to do. And so you're listing a product on a website, but you have 5 websites, so now you got to list that product 5 different ways, and you don't have time to seek out an app that'll do it for you. And so you just keep doing this, writing product descriptions, all this stuff that you just thought, I just put in a product. No, it takes all day.
Does it feel like you're sometimes just running but realize you're on a treadmill?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, you're just it's kind of like Groundhog Day, but it's hard to look at what you've accomplished because you're always in this state of running. So it's important to kind of sometimes look back, and this is really good through photos. You can search back a year or 2 years and what your business was doing then, and it's pretty crazy to see actually how far you've come.
I always tell people there are 5 key pillars to a successful business, and I call them the 5 Ps.
Okay.
So there's people, product, process, passion, and then the last P is get paid.
Yeah.
You had to hire people. You had to go through, and you probably had to fire people.
Yep, I have.
What's the one learning outcome you have when it comes to hiring people?
I struggle with it. I have a real, that's probably my weakest thing, is that I hire people that I like or that I have a gut feeling about. And it doesn't always work out very well because just because you like somebody doesn't mean in a working environment you're going to actually mesh very well. Mm-hmm. So I've been really getting into personality, so Myers-Briggs, and I outsourced a company called Culture Smith, who put my latest batch of applicants through their identifying questionnaire. So I've identified as a yellow, and so I need somebody in that position who, for instance, is a blue and red.
Gotcha.
So we did, we got 600 applications. I shortlisted 40. We sent them all through this process, and it baked it down to, hey, here's 8 people, right? And through that process, we hired somebody, and so far it's great. It's been an amazing match that I haven't had in that particular position before. So to answer your question, it's personality for whatever position you're hiring for. It's super important. That's what I found out.
Yeah. When you create a product like mismatched socks, there's a process you have to go through. What are some of the things that you've learned along the way when it comes to manufacturing that process?
If you're manufacturing, there's going to be mistakes made, right? The manufacturer is always going to make mistakes. You might make mistakes in how you designed it. It happens all the time. I would say give some and get some. So if they've made a mistake, shoulder that responsibility yourself a little bit too. Even if you don't have to, it speaks volumes about the relationship, and vice versa. And it's really an ebb and a flow. It's establishing that trust so that throughout the process, if something has gone bad, you will fix it together and you'll keep that relationship. It's very easy to say, hey, these socks are a little bit too big. I'm going to go find a new manufacturer. That's crazy. No, just work with the one you have, who you have a relationship with, and get through it together. And then it's been 5 years, so our process right now is pretty seamless.
What about your creative side? Where does that come from?
I don't know. I'm like very attention deficit. I've always been super, and I think that's probably pretty common in entrepreneur land. But I have a very hard time paying attention. So I've always been super creative as well, and I think that kind of ties in together. Yeah, I just love exploring. So I love, even with the design, it's like, what can we do different? What new thing has never existed that can come from my brain onto a piece of paper, scratched out, and then actually 2 months later pop up as an actual product or stuff in a box or something that is fun. So it's just exciting. Like, I just love creating products.
When you started off your business, getting paid is a very challenging thing. Getting into the retail stores, how does that process start off? Like when you're in retail, e-commerce is easy. You sell a product, it comes online, you get your pay.
Yep.
But on retail, they have to pay you.
Yep.
There's a time lag. You don't get your money right away. And especially as a starting business, you want your money ASAP.
Yeah.
So what have you learned along the way to get paid?
It's common in our industry to for a new store to pay on shipment for the first order, right? But we're not actually like a maker kind of company. So with maker companies, a lot of them, they'll make goods, they'll hand make goods, and they'll get paid right away for those goods. But we're more of a manufacturing, distributor. So we then would go, okay, you've ordered, you've paid us on shipment, great. And then the next order would be net 30 days, right? Everybody works it differently. But I've really realized that, especially because of COVID, it's a cost of doing business that you're going to lose a few retailers, or you won't get paid sometimes. You try to keep that to a minimum by friendly reminders and follow-ups, as you would in any kind of AR situation. But for the most part, it's like you stay close with them on social, you develop that relationship. They don't want to not pay you. For the most part, they know that we got a young family, and we're a small business, and they're not really going to. I'll probably be the first one they pay. So I would just say that coming to terms with the fact that you're going to not get paid sometimes, it's just the cost of doing business. Work it into your wholesale price.
It's interesting, Adam, what you said was when you talk about you've stayed in touch, and there's two ways of staying in touch. It's the notice to payment. I'm sending you a letter saying, please pay me.
Yeah.
But your retailers know that you're a small business.
Yeah.
Your retailers know that you're a family man, that you got to pay. That money that comes in puts food on the table.
Yeah, we engage with them on social. We like their posts, and we genuinely do like their posts, and we like to hear what their successes are, and we stay close that way, right? And in this day and age, it's you stay in touch with everybody through social, so you form this kind of weird sort of relationship where you're kind of just saying hi to each other every now and then, right?
Yeah, that's a different tone though. Most businesses use social media as an outlet to express themselves, but not keep in connection with their retailers.
Yeah, that's probably true, but they should be connecting more and being genuinely interested in what the people who you're mixing with, what they're doing, what they're up to, what their story is, right? It's not enough just to put what you're up to out there. You also should have genuine interest in the people who care about you.
Yeah. What would you say is your biggest failure in this business so far?
It's probably hiring. I've made some bad hiring decisions, and it's for instance, you hire somebody and okay, we're going to start this big project where we're going to process everything for this particular role to the point where we're going to have employee manuals, and anybody could plug and play and figure it out because we're going to go through that process. Then get to a point where they're not working out and they leave, and it's all just there, right? And it's gone. So now we have to start again. Now we have to hire and try to get that going again. So it's my biggest weakness is just, but I think I'm turning a corner on that. I've had a hard time being a boss, just because it's really unnatural for me to try to be an authority. I want to work with people as opposed to like tell people what to do. And not that you do have to tell people what to do, but you just have to lead. So this is the shift I'm making, is to become more of a leader, and that goes hand in hand with hiring the right people.
How did your connection go to charity? Because there's a lot of businesses who sell products and they don't give a dime to charity. What made you decide that, and which charities are you supporting?
What your business does, or your core values of your business, is a reflection of yourself. And I've always been a giving person. I want to help out. I want to do good in the world. So it's just an extension of that. Like, you have people that are like, we're socially conscious business, and that's okay. But I'm just a business who happens to do good things, right? I didn't give money in the first year because we didn't have money to do that. We're trying to build a business. Once you build that business, I think it's responsible to give back to the community that supported you. And we just come up with different ones that we can help. We get an email a day, and we can't help everybody, but the COVID crisis hit, so we supported the food bank because we thought those would be the most vulnerable people would be accessing that program. We've approached so many charities just to like do collaborations with. Calgary Reads, there's a whole bunch. And then we give a portion of proceeds. We genuinely want to help and do good things, so that's why we do it.
What happens when socks are not as trendy as they used to be?
I think you have your brand. That's all you have. So everything becomes commoditized eventually, and all designs will be mimicked or done. And at that point, it's just a race to the bottom on price. But I think if you differentiate yourself enough through quality, through eco-friendliness, through ethical manufacturing, through your brand, your voice, the imagery you put on your social, you become something that people want to associate with. And then price isn't really the issue there. It's more, I want to own this because I want to support that, and I want to vote with my dollars, and I want to support that brand.
Sounds like you're talking about a conversion from a nice to have product to I need to have that product. We all need socks.
Yeah.
And so we all have to choose a manufacturer of socks.
Yeah.
So they're going to come to you because of all the things you've built.
Yeah, and I just want space in the sock drawer. Like, I mean, buy other socks. Like, for sure, check them out. There's lots of cool designs out there. But if you own a couple of 2 or 3 pairs of ours, like, there's lots of feet out there. So that's really what we're about.
Adam, what are your next set of opportunities? What do you see yourself moving to the next area or product or idea?
So many things. So I just sent out an email to all of our the stores, our retail partners, of all the things that we're doing. We're coming out with a camp socks collection. So it's like a melange speckled yarn collection that are slightly mismatched. We're doing recycled yarn collections. So it's 85% recycled cotton Pima cotton mix of recycled with craft hang tags. So that's kind of a new thing that we're doing. Coming out with a laundry box where we put 5 individually mismatched socks in a box. They all go together, so there's 5 socks, 10 possibilities for pairing, and it's called the laundry box. And it looks like a dryer, so you pull and then you pull socks out. It's just like fun marketing initiatives like that, and then we're going to be starting another creative company very soon. And there's a bigger picture idea there where we become more of a I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know if it exists, but we're kind of a brand that has multiple creative companies using the economies of scale to get into the stores that we're in and to utilize our infrastructure and as far as shipping and our knowledge.
What's interesting is I haven't heard you say other products, because at points in time, like where you're at in your business, many business owners will say, okay, now let's spread our wings further. Let's go into ties and let's go into shirts or whatever it may be. You haven't said that.
No, we're being very careful with that. We've been doing socks and only socks for 5 years. We haven't gotten to boxers. We haven't gotten to briefs and t-shirts. We just want to do as much as we can in socks. That's what we're good at. That's what we're known for. We don't want to resource capital to do something else that may not work. So we're being very careful with it, but I do want to start something new that I believe will work. So it's just a question of we have it nailed down. We have the people in the right seats. Let's now slowly explore this next idea.
Why is it that you're still laser focused on this? Why not spread out at this point in time?
I think there's danger in trying to catch purple squirrels or shiny objects everywhere. If you chase a rabbit, you might catch it, right? But there's a lot of value in continuing to do what you are good at, what you're known for, and really becoming better at that in every way.
For all the business owners that are watching today, give me 3 pieces of advice you'd like to give them.
Don't do it. Go do something else. Work for a company. Don't start a business. But seriously, I would think watch your money in the beginning. save every single penny. Do you really need postcards? Do you need to put your logo on something and buy 12 of them? That money is fuel for your business, so put it all back into product. Hire earlier than you think you need to. Have that faith and confidence that you've been growing, you're going to continue to grow. And the third one would be do good things. If you have support from your community, if you have support from the people who are buying your product, then reinvest that back into initiatives that are doing good in the world.
Thanks for coming in, Adam.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching the Karmali Exchange. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can also follow me on social media at Faisal Karmali, where we can continue the business conversation.